Welcome to the Allen Lee Security and Communications Pan-Tilt Zoom CowCam Installation DVD. When you receive your CowCam system from Allen Lee, you will get it in two separate boxes. One box will contain your PTZ camera, and the second box will contain all the components required to install the camera at your barn location, and as well having your receiver at your house. In the next few minutes, we'll go through step by step on how to set up your system and make sure it's fully functional. In this segment, we'll talk about the proper unpacking procedures for the Pan-Tilt Zoom camera. When you open up your box, you'll have a large styrofoam cover. On the cover will be your installation manual, some mounting screws and an Allen wrench key, and the mounting arm for the camera. On the bottom of the mounting arm, here's a little screw. If you undo that, you can take off your back access plate, which allow you to run your cables through that. Next step is to gently take your camera out of the box and set it so that it doesn't move away on you, just like so. With your access cover taken off, you're going to slowly feed the cables through the end, ensuring that you don't scar or mark up the side of the cable, which could cause a grounding problem for you. So just slowly feed the cable through and you'll have no problems. When you get to this end, you'll see that you have several holes around the outside of your top of your camera. You'll want to line it up just so that the camera screw holes match, and then you're going to install the 4 screws on your camera. And I would just go finger tight just until you get everything all started. When you have all 4 screws started, then you can tighten them all up firmly, and then you know that your mounting arm is connected firmly to your camera. We do recommend that when you are unpacking your system and putting your connections together, that you do a full setup in your house. And that way you understand how all the connections work, all your switchcraft connectors are attached properly, your power supplied properly. It's a lot easier to do it in the comfort of your home than to do it outside. So the final step to finishing off your camera installation is to run your cable through. And you'll notice that there's tabs on here, that's going to go to the inside. So I'm going to put that to the inside of the plate. And then there's 2 tabs on the bottom that connect to the bottom of the frame, and 1 on the top. And that's set. When you mount it to the building, you'll have, of course, this cover off. You'll put your screws in, mount it firmly to the building, and then you'll do this next step. So just for demonstration purposes now, we just put it together this way. So you'll notice on the end of the cable, you've got a blue end, so you're going to supply power from your power supply using the blue cable. And then you have a switchcraft connector, which is actually going to connect from this camera to your transmitter. In the next segment, we're going to show you how to make your connections at your barn side. When you open up this box, you'll have several components in it. First thing is obviously this DVD, which you're watching right now. The Pan-Tilt Zoom CowCam instruction manual. In this box is your transmitter, which you mount on the outside of your barn facing your house. As well in this box you have your receiver, your power supply for your receiver, the antenna for the receiver, and of course your RCA cables which you hook up. The receiver is in your house, hooking up to your TV. you're going to have the speed dome controller, which controls your pan, tilt, zoom camera down at this barn. In the next segment of this video, we'll talk about the programming of this controller and how to maneuver back and forth for viewing of your camera. This is your power supply, which you can either mount inside of your barn or outside of your barn. It is a weatherproof Scepter box. You will notice on the ends, of course, you've got your 110 volt power supply, but you've got two connectors, one at the green end and one at the blue tie. It's very important that when you connect these together that you correspond the proper cables to the red end, or sorry, at the green end and to the blue end. You'll have two power supply cables. These, of course, are both blue ends, which will attach to the blue ends of your power supply box. And this length of cable has got green ends, so you'll hook that up to your power supply with the green end cable. Of course, the other ends of these cables will connect to your camera, and we'll show that in a later segment of this video. This grayish cable contains switchcraft connectors, which are waterproof, and this is what sends your video and your audio signal back to your receiver and your transmitters. This box, this aluminum cover, is a weatherproof connector or cover that we use on top of our power supply box. You'll notice that there's 3 holes, and they correspond with your 3 holes on the back of your weatherproof box. So just mount this box in the back, like so, with your power cables hanging off the bottom. There is a little cutout right here, and that is for your connectors for your weatherproof box. So these connectors will hook onto the back and bolt up to your barn. This one is actually made so that they can fit in the back of that, and you can connect your weatherproof box to it. So that should be all the components you have in your second box. The next segment we're going to be talking about is the connection to your cameras. When you are ready to make the connections on the barn side, this is the equipment that you will require in order to make a successful connection. First off, you need your camera. The camera is a switchcraft connector with blue ends. This is your transmitter. The transmitter gets mounted on the outside of your building or your barn facing your house. There's some mounting hardware with it, as well as you have a little tiny antenna. That is screwed onto the bottom of your transmitter, and that controls your data radio for your functionality of your remote control for your pan tilt zoom system. So I'm just going to finger tight that up. You notice the power that's required for the transmitter has got the green tag end on it. This is a 20-foot length of camera cable. This will connect from your camera, one end, to the back of your transmitter. Your green power cable, so one end from your green power supply to the other end of here, to the other end of your transmitter. And then you got your blue power supply. So you got your blue cable on here, blue end, and then this end will actually connect it to your camera. So you've got one power going to your transmitter, one power going to your camera. This is your power supply box, and of course your mounting weatherproof cover. These little clips here fit on the back with the screws provided. And they get bolted together. The next segment will actually have the connections made. Okay, I have made the connections for the mounting bracket for the power supply. So I've got the 1, 2, 3, and 4 ends tightened up to the back, and the top hole's got access to get through for your screws. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my blue cable end to my blue cable end. There's only one way to connect these. It's push them tight. I know my next blue cable end for power is on the camera side, so I can take the other open end and connect that. Okay. Then I'm left with my green power end. So I'm going to take my green power cable, make my connection nice and snug. And I know my green connection goes on the bottom of my transmitter box. So I'm going to connect that. Last step is the switchcraft connectors. So on the bottom of the transmitter box, you'll need, it's a male end, so you'll need the female end, so you'll need the male end. So you'll push it in, there's a little groove, push it in, turn, and then turn your locking connector over top. Nice snug connection. Same thing with the end on your camera. Your camera end is going to have the male end, your cable is going to have your female end. Turn until it fits snug, lock it together. So at this point, if we wanted to, we could plug in our power, and the barn side would be operational. Well, of course, we need to have our house side set up with the receiver so that, that we can receive the signal. In the next segment, we're going to show you the steps to connecting your house side receiver connection. In the last segment, we showed you how to make your connections for your camera at the barn side. In this segment, we're going to talk about how you make your connections at your house side in order to view the signal from your camera back at the barn. So the first box I'm going to open up is the speed dome controller. This is what is used to control the movement of the camera and as well to program special functions to it. The first thing is the camera, or sorry, the camera controller. There's a tiny little antenna that goes in the box. This just gets tightened up very finger tightly on the back of the unit. There's also a power supply, and you'll plug this in, and of course plug this into a 110 outlet. And then this little cable here is only for troubleshooting purposes only. You should not require this, but in the event that you ever do need to do some troubleshooting and you have to contact us at Allen Lee, we'll require you to use this cable. So just keep this in a safe place. The second box is going to contain your little receiver that you'll hook up directly to your TV. So this will have a little larger antenna on it. You'll screw that onto the side. As well as a power supply for this. And you'll plug it into the inside, so power in on the back of it. And the final step to hooking up your system is of course your RCA cables. So on the RCA cables you'll have a red, a yellow, and a white. On the back of your receiver you're going to have the same color coordinated ports on it. So the red to the red, yellow to the yellow, and the white to the white. On your TV, you'll have the same thing. You'll have 3 sets of ports along the side. And when you're plugging them into the ports on the TV, take note of what it says on here, whether it's line 1, 2, or 3. Every TV is going to be different and have a different port. In this case, mine says AV2 in. So when I go to set up my TV, I'm going to have it set up as AV2. Of course, your TV is going to be different. So white to the white, red to the red, and yellow to the yellow. And I'm going to have my TV plugged in. And we're going to set it up to AV2 so that we know that it's hooked up to the right connection. I'm going to turn it on, and of course I won't have any signal at this time because we don't have anything plugged in. I'm just going to make sure my TV is set to the right input. Set my import, AV2, and select that. So now when I power up my camera, plug in my receiver and plug in my controller, I should receive a signal, and that'll all happen in the next segment. In the last couple segments of this video, we talked about how to make the connections at your barn side, which is this section here, and as well how to make the connections at your house side, which is this section here. I'll quickly review it one more time, just so all the connections are done properly. So on your PTZ controller, you need to attach finger tight the little small antenna, plug in your power supply to a 110 volt, and you'll see that it lights up with a green light is indicating there's power onto it. On your receiver, plug in your power supply. You have your right, your left, and your video, all three, the red, yellow, and white connections made to your TV. On the TV, when you're connecting it, make sure you take note of which input you are plugging them into. In this case, we know it was AV2, and I have my TV set up as AV2. So that's all the connections at your house side. Oh, sorry, one more thing. On your receiver, most times the camera is set up on channel number 1. So you press the little channel select button, there'll be a little red light. Every time you press it, it'll move over. So you want to have it set up on channel number 1 to start off with. At your barn side, you have, most important part is your transmitter. Transmitter is mounted outside of your barn facing your house. The green connective cable or green zip tie end connect to the extension cable on your green end, which goes to your power supply. Also on your transmitter is your little antenna. You want to make sure that that's finger tight. And on this side is a switchcraft connector. So you put the cable in, you attach it, and the second part of it attaches actually to your camera end. On your camera you've got a blue zip tie connector for power. We're going to use extension cable. I'm going to plug that into the power supply there, the power supply box. So all your connections are made at your house, or sorry, your barn side. The last thing we need to do is plug in the power, and we should have reception on our TV in a couple seconds after we plug it in. You'll notice that as soon as you plug it in, your camera is going to go through an initialization stage. It's going to move around, it's going to make some funny noises. That's quite normal. You can see on the TV that we're getting a reception. Camera's going through, it says please wait. And there's our picture. One thing I want to also show you is on the bottom of this transmitter, there's two Phillips screws. We're going to loosen those off. I'm going to show you inside the transmitter box. Open it up. And on the back side of it, this is your transmitter here. So this section here is transmitting to this little box. This black button here changes what channel that your transmitter is transmitting out at. So if it's for some reason set out to a channel that's not working for you, you want to press the button until you get to the right location. Right now I've got it set on channel 1. My receiver is set on channel 1. If I want it to be on channel 2, I'm going to press my receiver button once to channel 2, or press this once to channel 2, and there's my picture. So right now I have it set up on channel 2. So you can have it set up any channel you want to. From the factory, from LNE, it comes in as channel 1, so we're going to just reset it back to channel 1. And there it is. So we put our cover back on. That's the only thing that you ever really need to look at inside this little box. Make sure that these screws are set just finger tight, snug, so that you don't crack the case. One side's tight, and do the other side. Okay, and that's snug. So the only other thing too is your power supply box. And what we'll do is we'll open that up and we'll take a quick look inside of there as well. 4 bolts. I guess one of the first things we should do is because we are dealing with 110 volts, we should undo this connection to the power supply just so we're not chancing electrocuting ourselves. Okay, so the power, unplug the power, and we're going to undo these 4 bolts to the top cover of our power supply box. Now there is a weatherproof seal on this case on the bottom of the lid. Inside of the box, basically all it is a power junction. So we have our power for our camera, our powers for our transmitter, and as well, our power for transmitter, power for the camera, and our main power supply box. So there's really nothing in here except a couple of power supplies. So again, when you put the cover back on, make sure it's snug, and finger tight the bolts. You don't need to really over tighten them because you'll wreck the seal on the box. so we know that all the connections are made. We've got no signal right at the moment because we don't have it plugged in. Plug the unit back in. Camera's going to go through its initialization stage. And there's our picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab our controller and I'm just going to make sure that the operation does work. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There it works. I'm going to zoom out just by basically turning the knob. We'll get into a bit further of the use of this controller in another segment. I'm just going to move it around a bit. It moves left, it moves right. So the operation is working as it's supposed to. In next segments, we're going to get into how to program it and the proper use of your controller. With all the connections made and the camera firmly mounted on your location, I'm going to take you through a few steps on how to use the PTZ controller. We're going to be referring quite a bit to the CowCam manual, and it is near the end on page 14 where we'll have some of the instructions on there. But basically, some of the first things we're going to do is we're going to learn how to pan the camera left and right. So if you want to pan the camera to the right, we're going to push the joystick to the right. So you can do it in two ways. You can go just very softly, you can push the joystick and it moves slowly, or you can push it hard and it moves fast. Okay, so that's up and down, and also you can move your camera up and down. To zoom in and out, we're going to take the joystick, and to zoom in, you're going to turn it counterclockwise. And again, you can use the variable on how fast you want to zoom in by how much you turn the joystick. If you turn it in a lot, it's going to zoom in a lot. So again, zoom in, zoom out, and you can move the camera to the left or to the right just by the operation of that. So that's basically your simple operation of your PTZ controller. You also have some buttons along the side. So the wide button, when you press it, zooms out. Your tele zooms in. Your near takes it is focus, and your far is focus. So it automatically focuses, but if you want to fine tune on something, you can slowly press the buttons to go in and out. Your open and close is just your iris for your nighttime viewing. You've got two buttons on the bottom, which is call and preset, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. This is presetting locations and also on how to call back that location that you just set. So in this segment, we're going to talk about how to preset certain locations for your camera. So you've got 6 or 8 areas around your farm where you're going to be zooming in on. And let's say you want to zoom in this direction here, and you want this to be your first preset right at that location. So what you're going to do is you hit your preset button, which is at the very bottom, and we want to call this preset number 1. So you're going to press the 1 button and then hit preset again. Okay? And of course on the screen it says stored. So we're going to move this now to another location. We're going to do this preset. We're going to make this a wide zoom, or a zoom out. So we're going to make this one number 2. So we're going to press preset, press the number 2, press preset again. And you see on the screen it says stored. We're going to take this one and we're going to go way down the block, right there. And we're going to call this preset number 3. So we're going to preset 3, preset, and it's stored. So you can set up to 49 of these preset locations if you like. So again, just in preset, then moving the camera to where you want it, to whether you want to zoom in, zoom out. Press the preset button, the number, and preset again will store it. So we're going to check now, and we want to go back and we want to call up those spots that we went to. So first I'm going to do is number 1. So you press the call button, press your 1, that's the first location you want to go to, press call again, and the camera's going to automatically take you to that first location. We want to call up number 3 now. We're going to press call button, 3, and then call again, and it takes us way down the block to our location down there. We want to go call number 2, you press call, 2, call, and it'll take us back to that location where we were. So that's how you do your preset locations. In this segment, we're going to show you how to run through your preset locations automatically. So a little earlier we went through and created a whole bunch of preset locations. Now we're going to show you how, by using this controller, to manually or to automatically go from one location to the next location to the next location. So I'm again on page 27, 28 of the camera manual, and it says at the very top 51, and cruise track is save preset locations. So we're going to go preset 5 1 preset, and that's going to automatically take us through. So this was our first preset location. It's going to wait a few seconds, take you to your second preset location, and then it's going to go to the third, the fourth, and the fifth, and sixth, and so on. So it's just going to continually run through these preset locations. I believe we had 8 of them made up in the beginning. I think that's number 7 preset. And there's number 1 preset. So now it started all over again. Now to get out of this, all you need to do is to move your joysticks. We're just going to move our joystick and zoom in, zoom out. And now that setting has stopped. Again, if you want to go back into that setting, it's just preset 5 1 preset, and it'll automatically start from the beginning and go through. So you can make however many presets you want, up to I believe it's 50, and then this will scan through them all automatically in the order that you created them. Okay, so we're just going to stop this by zooming out, and that function is now stopped. In this segment, we're going to show you how to make a tour. So basically going through an entire scan of whatever you have set up to scan through your barn area or your yard. So we're now back to the Cowcam manual, back to page 14. And it says what you need to do is go to 95, call, which takes you into the advanced menu of the camera. Second step is move your arrow down to number 6, function program, and all I'm doing is moving the joystick down. Once I have it on number 6, it's going to move the joystick to the right, and I'm going to get into the function programming mode. Next thing it says is we want to go down to where it says pattern. So we're going down twice to pattern, and move it to the right again, and getting into the next section of it. So note, pattern 1 is where we want to be in, because it's the first pattern we're setting up. And we're going to go down number 2 to program a pattern, and hit it to the right. Okay. So iris open to begin. So what we need to do is kind of get to where we want to be. So right there, and then iris open. The open button is how you start whatever you're going to be doing. So we're going to press the iris open, and it does exactly what you do. So if you want to zoom in, you want to wait there for, count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then zoom back out again, and then move over a little bit, and then zoom in there, and wait a count of 5 or 10, whatever you prefer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're just going to move it over a little bit to there. Count of 3, 1, 2, 3, zoom it out, count of 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to move it down here, going to zoom in there, zoom up, and then we're just going to do a scan this way all the way back. Scanning all the way back. Now again on the screen it says iris close when done, so press the close button, And now we just recorded our pattern. So now we want to run this pattern. We can go back just for an example. You can find it in this book, or you can also find it into the camera book. But it's call 80 call. Oh, sorry. So we need to get out of this. So just press the close button a couple times, and you get yourself back. So it's basically like a backspace. You're closing yourself right out. There's nothing on the screen now, so we're out of the editing menu. So now this is where we're going to press in 80 call, 80 call. And then we'll go through exactly what we just programmed. And as you can tell, it's slowly going through. And then when it gets to the end, it's going to restart and go right back through it again. You can create multiple patterns for this by doing the same setup as what we did before. So we'll let this one go through a little bit more, and then we'll show you how to do the second and third one, or how to get into the operation of the second and third one. So to get out of it, again, all you do is move your joystick back and forth, and the program should end. Okay, there we go. So to get into that again, just we're going through the book one more time. It's 9-5 call. We're going to go down to number 6, functioning programs. Move the joystick to the right. We're going to go down to number 3, which is pattern. Move it to the right. And then this is where you can change your programming number. So you can go 1, 2, or 3 different patterns. We've got 1 done. So we've got this all completed. Again, close button to exit out. And that's how you run a pattern through this camera. I'll take you now through some advanced editing modes on the PTZ controller. So I'm not sure if you can see or not, but on this camera, PTZ control, it says camera ID 2. I can't move the remote control, nothing happens to the camera. What this means is that this controller is not programmed for the camera, which is camera ID 1. To fix that, you press the cam button, which is CAM, press the 1 key, and then press cam again. Now you'll be able to see your camera ID is 1, and then now you should have full functionality of the remote control. I'm now going to go into the camera manual, which is located in the box as well. You turn to page 28 and 29. There are some preset locations on here that are some advanced editing modes. So for example, if we wanted to autofocus, for some reason when you're moving your camera it doesn't focus. Autofocus, if you go number 59, if you go call 59, you have it to autofocus. If you go preset 59, you turn to manual focus. So we're going to go to manual focus just so you understand what it does. So we're going to go preset 59, preset. Now when we zoom in, it doesn't autofocus. Okay? So now we're going to take it so that it autofocuses. So autofocus is now when you go call 59. So we're going to go call 59, call. Now watch what happens when you zoom in on an object. See, it's automatically focusing, and it's a nice sharper picture. Okay. So in here we've got so day-night compensation, digital zoom, focusing, iris, white balance, run patterns, and run vectors. Some of the things that you never have to worry about. But just in case you ever get into a situation where your camera won't focus for you, that's what you do. You go call 59, call, and that makes it autofocus. Now your iris, if your auto iris isn't working, it's call 60, call. So call 60, emergency call, and now that made it to an auto iris function where it works properly in low light compensation for you. This concludes the instructional DVD for the pan-tilt zoom camera. We'd like to thank you from LME Security and Communications for your purchase of the pan-tilt zoom camera system, and want you to be comfortable that we warranty our products and that we're there to help you if you have any concerns with the operation of your camera. On the back of our pan-tilt and zoom